midnight.
Oh, no, I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a rush.
Cool.
Did you want to talk about anything else? Anything of what's happened with our online drama?
Oh, well, yeah.
Did you want to clear anything up?
No, I did. I mean, I made an apology video to you just to say, like, I felt like I was pretty brutal, and I felt bad. I felt bad about that first video. Because to be honest, like I'd had a pretty rough weekend for other reasons, and then I just kind of got on YouTube and saw your video, and then I was like, right, I'm just gonna I'm gonna tear this dude down because. But half the people in the comments were like, dude, saying like that you came off better than me anyway. So like I was like, okay, maybe I've been a bit of an idiot. So
but I didn't agree with the people, to be honest. And I told you, I don't care like if you call me names and shit like that. Like, it doesn't matter. Did you watch my response videos or my videos later?
I've been working double shifts since like Thursday, Friday. All those videos I made like on Thursday or Friday after I don't think I'd seen anything you've done. So I've replied to a few YouTube comments, but I've been offline really since I was working on Friday. So I will have a look now. I'll go onto your channel and have a watch.
Yeah, I explained a lot. That makes sense if you haven't seen it. Yeah, I explained a lot in those videos. But yeah, is there anything that you feel like, do you want me to apologize specifically about something?
Man.
I feel like I might have hurt your feelings when I did the teasing thing, and just to make it clear, just to make it absolutely clear, like my feeling about that is that a lot of people that I teach to sing, they come and like they've come to me, they've done programs before and they've done courses and stuff like that. And I'm not saying scales don't teach you pitch and they don't teach you key and of course they teach you range and stuff like that. I'm not saying they don't. But what I'm making fun of there is that when students do that, then they go to sing a song. Sometimes the teacher can't bridge the gap between the fact that a scale is meant to be about finding the root note of the song and then singing the scale of that song, the available notes of that song. And students don't get that. So they come to me and they're like, they can go, like they do a scale perfectly. And most of them can't, but then they go to sing a song and they're completely out of key.
Yeah.
And there's no pitch stability either. Like they can't just go, they can't even do something like that.
Yeah.
Let alone vibrato, let alone runs, let alone fast phrases. So that's where that teasing came from. It's that.
I mean, I totally agree with that argument. The transition between scales and singing songs is really hard. And I was like, it took me I remember being stuck for years, being able to do the exercises okay and still singing awfully. So like, I totally empathize with that, and you're absolutely right. And it's kind of a complicated issue, but the long and short of it is that I totally agree. I think a lot of stuff we'll probably agree on. That's the thing. After that video, I'm aware of all this stuff, and I will probably agree more than we'll disagree. And I think one of the main issues with teaching, like with just purely scales, or at least more towards that than application, is this question of how do you bridge the gap? Because a lot of the time a student can do the scales okay, and then they go to sing the song and it's garbage. And then they think, well, the scales obviously aren't very good because I still sound pretty crap. So it's like, over time, it starts to make more and more sense in your head how that gap is bridged and how different scales would relate to application But you only know that after the fact. You only know that after you've gone through a certain amount of the journey, and it makes more sense. And so you're always kind of in this really strange place where, as somebody that understands it more versus when you have a student who understands it less, you're trying to approach it with somewhat of a degree of compromise in terms of trying to give them something that they can latch onto that makes sense in their reality, because their reality is different to your reality, whilst also like bringing them forward more towards where you are, if that makes sense. This is why singers like me and singers like you make great coaches, because we've gone through the difficult part and we understand what it's like to suck. So we can kind of transport ourselves back there, whereas somebody that's sung very well their whole life, they've got nowhere to transport themselves to. they don't understand how it can be difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could write a book on this type of thing, but the long and short of it is that, yeah, if you just, when you drill someone on scales and go to just say right now sing a song, like, it doesn't work. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. And I think what I really like about what you're doing is that you're trying to get more towards the actual, what the end result is in terms of what a singer that comes to you wants. They want to sing songs. They don't want to just grind away for hours
yeah,
and have no results. And so, and my approach is typically like, is almost in some ways the opposite, which is to my detriment sometimes, is that I focus so much on getting the long-term results that I would, for me personally, when I practiced for years, I will grind away at really boring stuff, knowing that 5 years later it's going to benefit me. Whereas a lot of singers that come for lessons, they just want to sing a few songs and have some fun. And so my challenge as a coach is trying to like allow myself to like give them what they want, which is what you do so well. Whereas I want everybody to just think, right, I don't care what the cost is now in the short term. Like 10 years later, I'm going to be a great singer if I do this now. But like a lot of singers don't necessarily have that perspective. They don't have those goals. Like, and that's really a lot of what I struggle with as a coach. Versus, I think for you, it comes a lot more naturally.
Well, let me tell you why. Because I didn't get no one that trained me in that way, like the way that you got trained with those things. I went to a teacher for 3 lessons, and she tried to make me do scales and exercises for 50 minutes of the hour, and I just felt like, and she was an R&B teacher. She was the only R&B teacher I could find. And this was like 12 years ago, and it really turned me off because I never got to get better at the songs, like at all. And I didn't understand how the scales connected. Doing major scale in every key and holding my breath or whatever, I didn't get it, how it connected to a song at all. And see, I like what you said about that it is a bridge and it is a gap. And this is what happened with me, is that I didn't see the bridge there. And even if I do it for a long time, I get good at doing scales in different keys, but something has to be pointed out to me so I can understand what the hell a scale has to actually do with a song. And it took me learning an instrument before I could figure that out. So I did that. I happened to do it on my own when I learned with music theory, because I go, all right, couldn't learn from the teacher, so what else can I do? So I got some music books, and then I learned music theory, and then I understood about finding the root or the tonic of a song. And then what I would do is I would sing the scale, but not necessarily as but I'll have a song on, and I'll be like, I want to try to find the root note of the song. So I'll try to find a tonic. So I kind of sang scales, but in the form of, I will just pick any note. So say I'm playing a song while I'm driving, and it's like, I'll find any note I can. There's a tonic.
Yeah.
And that's how scales, that's what scales meant to me. I found the useful part of scales, and then that was like, okay, now I can go up and down, and these are the notes that fit. And here's when I go off, start again.
Yeah, because in R&B, like they do a lot of riffs and stuff and free kind of, so you need to basically know what your options are, like wherever you are. And if you want to do a lick or run, you basically have to have all that, the major scale and all kind of in your head, so that you've got a sense of where you can go without necessarily having to copy, lyrics and stuff. So yeah, you need so it's basically like a little bit of improvisation, basically, is what it is, really.
Pretty much. But when I did that, it was more about being in key, because I wasn't even in key back then. So that's what I would do if I was going to teach a scale. I would make sure that it's actually related to the song. So then when the person goes to sing the song, they're actually already practiced the notes of the scale within the context of that exact key, the exact song. So if they're going to sing I'm thinking out loud. People fall in love every single day. Hey, hey, people fall in love. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So if you're gonna teach the scale, I wouldn't even teach the scale. I would just teach the intervals of the song, and because usually they have no idea how to sing notes on words. You know what I mean? Like you go
Yeah,
but
and that's the thing. Like
but
with these types of things, sometimes I mean, I've had students where I've had to, like, we started lesson and I've had to sit there and actually just sit there and get them to match pitches for like quite a while and try and yeah. I mean, I was very lucky that I learned guitar at a young age, because and I think some of my ignorance comes from the fact that I was a musician for a long time before I was a singer. And because of that, I tend to be a little bit stuck when somebody can't just match pitches and go from the get-go, because it's like, okay, because I never had to really learn. I had never had to learn that. It was something that I already knew. And so
this is where
when I have students like that, it's like, what do I do sometimes?
Hard. Yeah. What do I do? Exactly. This is where I excel, because I used to suck so bad. I didn't play guitar. I didn't play piano. I sang first, and I learned instruments to help me sing.
Yeah.
It's the other way around, to teach me about what the fuck is music. You know what I mean? Like, because to me it was just lyrics. That's what I thought music was. It was just lyrics, right? Before I played an instrument. Then I was like, I started learning piano, like theory through a piano. I was like, they're actually notes that are meant to match. And then I learned to match the notes. And my siblings, who were natural singers, they're 10 years younger. When I did that, I showed them and I recorded it. And I recorded myself matching the notes of a song. And they're like, it was just like, I long for the warmth of days gone by. It was just that melody, but I learned how to figure it out on piano, but like without the vibrato, and just really simple. And they're like, whoa, that's the best you've ever sounded. And that was the first time I'd ever actually sung absolutely on pitch. So when I get students like that, which is probably 3/4 of my students, I know exactly what to do. And that's my whole thing. That's why I'm so passionate. And I know, like, that's why I didn't get upset with you, like when you made the video, because I can tell, like, by your language, that maybe you don't go through the exact same thing that I went through. So you don't know exactly why I stress on something so much. So
well, this conversation
for these people,
made me much more aware. That I think that's a lot of the issues. Sorry to butt in, but a lot of the issues that sometimes people have is that everyone's coming from their own perspective and they've got slightly different priorities. And as soon as you told me your story, it's like, okay, right, I understand now, because he went through that journey that I didn't necessarily go through. So he understands there's some more value there that I disregard sometimes, and vice versa. And a lot of these things happen because of this one thing, where someone's had experiences where they've had bad lessons and they've had like specific things that another singer might not have had, and so they can relate to certain things much better than that other guy. And even more so, when you have a singer that's sung from like 3 years old their whole life, and had good training, like they have no idea about certain things.
They're like, it's just like this.
So all these experiences tend to like be a good thing for a coach, because you can immediately like latch on to where a student is and figure out, right, how do I fix this? The stuff I struggle with the most is things that I never went through, because it's like, okay, I guess so, let's try and match this, and I have to make it up on the go more. Whereas if you've gone through that, you don't even have to make it up. It's like, I've already done this ABC for
like me. Exactly, man. That's where I really excel, and that's what I end up focusing on, because a lot of the students, like, they can't even match a pitch, and they can learn a scale, but matching a pitch, and then matching pitch on words that change like that, it's a whole other ball game. To them, they're like a baby that is learning language.
Yeah.
Like learning how to speak. It's so hard for, they're like, I'm telling you, man, I've literally spent 1 hour teaching someone how to sing 2 lines. Like, but 2 lines, we're talking like 15, 20 notes put together.
Yeah.
You know, but with about maybe 10 words or something. And it's really difficult. Like right before I saw you, I was teaching a guy that Ed Sheeran Perfect song. I haven't heard it before I met him.
Yeah.
But we literally, I just did a 20-minute lesson with him. We literally for 20 minutes learned the first 4 lines. But there was like 2 lines that had 5-note runs in them. So they were a bit tricky. And I literally made him go over them about each line, but not in one go. Like I'll do it so it's not boring, and I'll do a bit, then a bit, then a bit, then a bit.
Yeah.
Then I'll put 2 bits together, then I'll put 2 bits together. And anyway, I literally had to correct him at least 10 times on each line until he could do it by himself 4 times in a row or something like that.
Yeah, and that's where you're trying to marry you know, the kind of the long-term kind of process of having to get this right versus, you know, sometimes you get students and they're hoping that they're going to, you know, be able to sing straight away. And it's like, well, it's going to take some work. It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And, all that stuff,
Yeah.
you know, kind of relates back to what we we're saying about, you know, different approaches to teaching and trying to, it's always this marriage between what the student wants and what you want, basically.
Yeah.
It's tough
to
find that balance.
Yeah, I guess I feel like, you know, the student has no idea how to sing the song. So I feel like I need to spend a lot of time just for them to get the notes of the song first. Then they can do what they want to do. Once they got the notes of the song, then they'll sound half decent. And then they can work on if they want to sing it in the original key. You know what I mean? Then they can work, as long as, to me, if they can't sing a song a cappella, you can't call someone a singer. If they can't just sing the song from the top of their head, you know, and I will always love you. If they can't just do that, they're not a singer yet. So my aim is to get them to sing a cappella first. That's the first thing I do. Then you add vibrato, then you add runs, then you add range. So that's the process I go through. So whenever I make a video, that's my context.
Yeah.
Is that, well, what about these singers that can't even sing a cappella? You know what I mean? That's my sort of starting point.
I think it's all a case of understanding the context of an argument. So, like, for example, you know, learning some of the stuff we talked about today comes at a certain part of one's journey versus just learning to, you know, match pitches and you know, sing just a basic phrase. And if you don't have that, then all the other stuff later on, like, it's not even worth touching, because there's so many things that have to come before that point. And sometimes you can have an argument that's applicable to the more advanced singer or the intermediate singer that's absolutely not applicable to a beginning singer. But that's not necessarily explained in the 2 arguments. And so you've got this clash that happens because one person's talking about something in this context and the other person's talking about something in another context.
Exactly. Great point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we clear it up with conversations like this, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it all seems like really like there's no beef at all. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want my help personally, you can book a one-on-one training session. Drop me a message. My email is in the description. And if you feel like this message was of value, then please feel free to make a donation equal to that value. Again, donation link is in the description. And finally, please share this video with other singers you know. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in another video. Bye.